Warna muka. Assalamualaikum semua. Dengar tak? Assalamualaikum.
Dengar.
Okey, tak apa. Saya cuma nak test je. Dr. Majid, is it you around?
Yes, I'm around here.
Oh, Dr. Majid, later during the class, please turn on the camera
Ya, sudah turn.
Okay, kita akan tunggu sampai 10.10 ke, 10 suku ke. By the time ajak kawan-kawan masuk kelas. Dr. Majid, maybe you can try to share the slide first.
Yep, sure.
Any slide is okay. Just want to ensure there's no technical ke apa. Saya tak nampak lah muka Dr. Majid ni macam mana ni. Mungkin tukar ni kot.
Dekat bawah sekali I think.
Bawah sekali Kejap, mungkin I tukar-tukar apa. Tak nampak pula. Okay, Dr. Majid.
So can see my slides
Yes. Okay.
So we'll wait for the others to join.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Majid. It's okay, just check.
Yeah. So just want to check kelas 1A dengan kelas yang mana? Berapa kelas?
Yes, Dr. Majid.
Ya, ada berapa kelas? Saya ada 1A.
Okay, kejap I tengok partisipan. Kejap berapa orang Kita ada 4 kelas. Saya, Dr. Wan Mazlina, Dr. Wan Emri and you.
Yep, so my class is 1A. So your class?
My kelas, kejap. Kelas saya berapa Ada tak belajar kelas saya? Kejap, nak kena tengok kat WhatsApp ni. I think I tag my class with my name. Kejap.
Okay, alright.
Kejap baru 73. Okay, siapa kelas saya? Berapa kelas saya? Saya Dr. Bulan. Macam mana? My one is 2A, doktor.
Alright. So I think total should be about 100 lah, near to 100 participants.
Yes, I think my class 25 only, around 25.
Right, so I think it's increasing. Now it's 77.
I think around 100 is okay, but because of the others, I think around 30, 28, something around that.
Oh yeah, mine is 29. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good morning, Dr. Baljeet.
Hi, good morning. Go on, yeah.
Hi, you're taking class today,
Yes, it's my turn today.
Okay. All right. All the best.
Sure, thank you.
Dr. Majid, maybe later you can directly record during the lecture, so maybe we can directly use as the ODL material.
Okay, record So sebelum saya start, saya record lah.
Ya.
Okay. Oh, when you start so you can record.
Sebelum start lah nanti ni tengah macam panggil dulu kan.
That's right.
My class, I have 2 classes. One is 28, another one is I think about 30. So,
just nak remind pelajar-pelajar, sekiranya ada pelajar tick disagree during the ODL test about the integrity, kita tak akan marking So for those siapa yang dah tick disagree tu, Kalau betul kamu tersilap, sila contact pelajar pensyarah masing-masing Alhamdulillah my class all agree agree with the ODL test integrity. So saya dapat tahu ada beberapa pelajar yang tak agree. So the decision, if you not agree, kita assume you nak meniru secara terang-terangan dan 0 mark kita tak akan marking. Dr. Majid, is it your class all agree? Dr. Majid?
Yeah, I didn't see any of my class names in the list, so I assume everyone agrees lah.
Oh, okay. Because it become the issue.
So far semua tak ada yang tak.
Saya rasa untuk kita insya-Allah kot semua agree tak nak meniru. Saya tak tahu mungkin kelas lain tu kenapa dia tak agree. Can we check if we disagree? No, you already know, right? You dah tick agree ke tak agree? Kalau you nak double confirm dengan your lecturer Hazirudin.
No, I think Dr. Bulan should have double confirm dengan Puan Salina, because why Puan Salina yang ada list tu, kita orang tak ada.
Dia dah bagi dah dalam grup akademik.
Then should
dia suruh pensyarah masing-masing simak. Tapi dia tak bagi kat pelajar, dia suruh pensyarah je simak. Saya rasa tak ada isu kot dalam MGI, kalau tak mesti dah macam dah cakap dengan saya directly kan. Saya rasa tu bidang lain. Dr. Majid mula nanti 10.15
Alright.
Okay, we have 3 minit. Kawan-kawan ada ajak kawan-kawan masuk kelas. Dah increase dah number. So far my class alhamdulillah semua assignment submit, semua test submit, so I can declare that all the student attend all the classes lah kan. Dan juga for test declaration semua 100% setuju tak meniru itu je. Jadi tak payah tanya lagi lah my class kan tertik salah ke tak. Kalau tak mesti saya dah contact anda. Tapi kalau tak contact pun memang lecture berhak kosongkan sebab kamu declare.
think okay, Dr. Bulan, I think I'll start.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So just that before I start, can any of the students confirm that you can hear me and you can also see the slides?
Yes, doctor.
Yep. All right. So that's good. So I'll start presenting.
Mr. Majid, record please.
Yep. Okay, so I think Dr. Bulan, can you confirm it's recording now?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is
I
recording.
forgot to record. I think last time I had my class.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start presenting. So this is, so before we begin, as usual, good morning everyone. So this is our class after your semester break. So we will today continue with our next chapter. So our chapter for today will be on sustainability development. Right. So this is one of your topics under MEC600 Engineers in Society. So in this topic, so the time allocated is actually in total of 6 hours. So we will cover 3 hours here, then another 3 hours will be on your own. So the things that we're going to cover in under this chapter will be key concepts of sustainability and issues. Right. So what are the key concepts? So you should know what is sustainability, because as an engineer, when you start working, everything that you do will be related to this. Right. So this is kind of a buzzword nowadays. Everyone, no matter what they do, especially if you relate it to engineering, it should be sustainable, right? So we will see what is this sustainability and how this sustainability is related to social, right, environment and economic. So why do you need all of these three together, these three elements together, in order to have sustainability in anything that you do, right? Once you've covered that, then you will go to United Nations Sustainable Goals, right? So we have a total of 17 goals. We will cover that one by one today. And once we are done with that, then we will see what are the issues related to your sustainability and also come out with some proposed solution to overcome those issues. And maybe we'll go through 1 or 2 case studies then, right? So far, okay? Maybe 1 or 2 can reply. All right, so that's good. Now, if you look at this chart, so here we talk about sustainable development. I'll come back to the word sustainability in a while. All right, so what is the meaning of sustainability? Anyway, can anyone tell me the definition of sustainability in Malay? Do you know what is the word for sustainability in Malay? So that it intrigues you to know further. Anyone? Sustainability dalam Melayu is what? Anyone?
No. Kelestarian.
Kelestarian. All right. So this is a lecturer's reply. So we hope students also can reply. Right. You can have kelestarian, some even say kemampanan and all those things. All right, so we will go into that. Now, if you look at the principles or history of sustainable development, all right, so what you want to do is very simple. You want to meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations, right? So that is what is written here. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of present. Needs of present means who? Your needs. And what are your needs? You need petrol, you need electricity, you need good career development, right? You need an environment that is not polluted, right? So you need to have some natural resources, right, that you can convert for your own benefit. But you got to do that without compromising the ability of future generation. Future generation here means your next generation, your children, and their children's children, right? So whatever you do today, right, be it you are mining the fossil fuel, you are polluting the environment, whatever that you are doing, it has to be basically falls into the category of sustainable development. So the only thing that we want to achieve from here is we can meet all our needs, that is today, without compromising the future generation, right? So that is all that you need to know about sustainable development. Now this is easier said than done, right? So it's easy to say that I will not compromise the what you call that needs of my future generation, right? But you will see that it's not going to be that easy, right? So you need very strong resolve. All the governments, everyone in this world needs to come together in order to achieve this, right? So it actually calls for concerted efforts towards building an inclusive, sustainable and resilient future for people and the planet. Because you should know we have only one planet, right? We have about 7 billion people, right, living on this planet, and everyone needs something, right, from the environment, because we can only change some resources into something useful, right? So we got to do it in a sustainable manner. So for sustainable development to be achieved, it is crucial to harmonize. These are the three core elements that I discussed with you. The first one is your economic, the second one is your social and environmental protection. So whenever you have economic growth, if you look at China, China had tremendous economic growth in the past 30 years. Now, due to this economic growth, you will notice that their environment was also destroyed, right, to a certain extent. So what can you do to achieve strong and good economic growth, and at the same time you protect your environment, right? So these are related, and at the same time you got to make sure that you include everyone in this social inclusion element. So if you have good economic growth, but you see that only a certain segment of the society is progressing, but the part of the other segment of the society is not progressing, is also not good, right? So for an example, if we have good economic growth in Malaysia, in terms of social inclusion, what's happening to our orang asli people? Are they enjoying the economic growth, or are they being sidelined? So these are the things that you need to look at, right? So these elements are interconnected. Whether you like it or not, you got to balance out all these three elements: economic growth, social inclusion and environmental protection. So if you can balance this up, then you can say that you somehow achieve your sustainable development, right? So these elements are interconnected and are all crucial for the well-being of individuals and societies, okay? So you can see this diagram here, right? Sustainable development. So what we need is we need to protect our planet, because we harvest all the natural resources, right? So you got to be responsible in doing that, and also make sure that the climate is not changing drastically, so that our future generations can still enjoy what we have on our planet. And then you must also enforce some sort of a partnership with others, right? So you have solid global partnership. So what we have now is our United Nations. So you may also have peace, right? So you don't want countries to go to war, right? So you foster peaceful, just and inclusive societies. You also need prosperity. So you can't be sustainable if you don't prosper, right? So you need to make sure that you ensure prosperous and you fulfill lives in harmony with nature. And not forgetting the people. So that's why you have the people at the top here. So you got to end poverty, right? Make sure that nobody goes hungry in all forms, and ensure dignity and equality. So dignity here means bermaruah, right? Equality means saksamaan. So everyone is equal. So all right. So this is some of the core elements, or one of the important elements that you need to have when you talk about sustainable development. Okay. Next. All right. So just a minute. Okay, so next is we have a 2 minutes video All right, so this is there embedded. So I'll just play the video for you.
Sustainable development. Everybody's talking about it. But what do those two words really mean? Let's take a couple of minutes to see what sustainable development is all about. The idea first emerged in the late 1980s as a response to the world's growing social and environmental problems. With globalization, the inequality gap between rich and poor countries is widening every day, and the projections for population growth are alarming. How are we going to feed a total of 9 billion people in 2050? How can we offer everyone access to clean drinking water, healthcare, education? How can we protect biodiversity and take concrete action against climate change? How can we make sure that industrial development means progress for everyone? The proposed solution was a new kind of development, or rather a variation of the traditional model called, quite simply, sustainable development. The term was officially defined in 1987 as part of the preparations for the Rio Earth Summit. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Does that sound a little abstract to you? Let's put it this way. Sustainable development means that growth must be accomplished with respect for nature and humankind. And where is sustainability achieved? Right here at the crossroads of economic goals, social responsibility, and environmental protection. Now, are you wondering whether a company can combine respect for the environment, social equity, and commercial success? Well, the answer is yes. Not only that, but sustainable development creates value. Here's how. Upgrading production tools to use less energy and water is good for the environment and for the pocketbook. Offering eco-designed products and packaging that use just what's necessary saves materials and reduces shipping costs. Paying attention to employees, improving their quality of life at work, and helping them develop their skills all serve to strengthen their engagement. And stronger employee engagement means better overall performance. Creating products that are accessible to the world's poorest populations means opening new markets, the ones whose populations are going to grow the fastest between now and 2050. Monitoring the working conditions offered by suppliers and subcontractors means minimizing risks that could damage the company's image. As you can see, sustainable development affects just about everything. More and more companies today understand that they have important economic, social, and environmental responsibilities and are committed to making a difference. The ones that seize this opportunity to create value will find that their success is, in a word, sustainable.
Okay, so that was the video. So I hope everyone...
Hello there, this is Jaslin Varghese again, joining you from New York City. I will be the course moderator for this course, Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development.
Right. So sorry for the disruption. So I hope everyone heard the sound from the video. It was audible. Can someone confirm?
Yes.
Yes, all right. So now from the video, it was quite informative. So what it tells you is you need to have three things in balance. One is the economic. So you can't have sustainable development without good economic growth. Second thing is you must have the environment protected while you are enjoying this economic growth. And third is the social. Social part means you are talking about people. So how everyone, let's say in a particular country, enjoying the economic growth and at the same time not polluting or harming the environment. So that is what sustainable development is all about. All right. So you got to understand, sustainable development is meeting the needs of the present without compromising the needs of the future generation. So meaning to say that if you are enjoying whatever that you are enjoying today, can your future generation, let's say 200 years from now, enjoy the same thing, right? Or are you going to finish up everything? Right, so that is the one of the hardest question that you got to answer in order to know whether you can achieve sustainable development or not. All right, so we go to the next one. So this is another video. So let's have a look.
What is sustainability? The word sustainability has many meanings: to maintain, support, endure, and withstand. It most commonly means maintaining the world we live in. The main idea is that we must act responsibly so that the resources on the planet will be able to support many generations to come. There are a limited amount of resources on Earth which are exploited every day to produce houses, cars, computers, and pretty much everything. Sustainability means to maintain these resources forever. Our actions have a deep impact on the environment and we need to protect it for the future generations. If you want to figure out if something is sustainable, you should ask yourself the question, can I do this forever? Let's take a look at the product plastic to understand this better. Plastic was introduced in the early 1990s and is a mass-produced item today. We use plastic for everything from food containers to lamps, toys, bottles, bags, and much more. Plastic takes millions of years to decompose. So what happens to all this plastic after we finish using it? We end up with a large amount of plastic that is just taking up space on Earth. So now if we ask, can I do this forever? The answer is no. Plastic is just one example of unsustainable consumption. Here are a few ways your actions can contribute to sustainability. Lifestyle. Your lifestyle is your choice and you can change it. Always carry your own cloth bag when you go to the grocery store. Avoid plastic bags. Fixing. If your watch, toy or camera is broken, don't just buy a new one. Try fixing it. Recycle. Be conscious about the things around you. Maybe you can reuse some of them. Needs versus wants. Before you buy something, ask yourself the question, do I need it or do I want it? Remember, sustainability begins with you. So act locally and think globally.
Okay, so that was on sustainability. They've given you an example. If you look at the video, they've mentioned about plastic. So plastic is something that we use every day in our life. So if you notice if you look around, plastic is everywhere, even in your house. But once you are, you don't need the plastic. So what do you do with it? Do you recycle? So most of the times people do not recycle plastic. So all the plastic ends up in the landfill. So if you keep on doing that for the next 20-30 years, so all our landfills will be filled with plastic, and this is not sustainable. So what can you do to make sure that in order to live a world that is sustainable? So we got to look for an alternative to plastics. So what other things that we can use? So that is one of the aspect of sustainability development that you can discuss. So we have another video here. So these are sustainable
This
development
September,
goals.
193 countries will meet at the UN to adopt new global goals. These 17 goals provide a roadmap that will help the world achieve sustainable development. But what exactly is sustainable development and how does it affect us? Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. But what does that mean? Everyone understands the need to grow their economies, but not everyone takes into account the negatives that unbalanced economic growth can have on the environment and on people's well-being. It's time to change that by looking at the world in a different way. The Sustainable Development Goals will help us to do that. Sustainable development is about the big picture. It's about improving the lives of everyone, everywhere, and achieving all these things together. But it's also about the details. That means we want economies to grow, companies to thrive, and people to have decent work. We want to create new, innovative technologies, but not by harming the environment. We want everyone to have access to nutritious food regardless of where they live. We want affordable and quality education for everybody, not just a few. We want freedom of speech, but we don't want that to mean violence. But how can we achieve all of this, and where do we even start? Well, the 17 goals will mean member states, alongside civil society stakeholders and major groups, will be working together for the next 15 years, looking at ways we can do business differently so that everyone gains. With these 17 global goals as our guide, we can achieve sustainable development and live in a world where people and planet benefit. But we have to act now. This is the time for global action. To find out how you can get involved and learn more about the goals, go to www.un.org/sustainable development.
Right, so that was those were the two videos that you've watched. So by now you should know what is sustainable development and what are the three main pillars of sustainable development, right? So these are the three main pillars: social, environment, and economic. So you got to remember this. So when you talk about lifelong learning, so lifelong learning means you kind of bring this right towards the end of your life. So you got to understand when you talk about sustainable development. So sustainable development pillars, there are only three. So one is social, one is environment, one is economic. And when you want to achieve sustainable development, it's all about bringing the balance so that all three pillars that I've shown you here, social, environment, and economic, they are basically balanced and not harming our environment mainly, and also providing what you call that good social structure and good economic growth. So this is how you look at it. So if you look at the diagram on the left, you have sustainability, and sustainability is more like a roof of a building, as you can see as illustrated in the picture here. And to support this sustainability, you need at least these three pillars. So you need social, you need environmental, and you need economic. So, and all these three, right, need to be balanced up, and then only you can call it as sustainable. So if you have only environment and social, and then you don't have a good economic growth, it is still bearable, but it's not sustainable. So if you have good social and economic growth, but your environment is not taken care of, it's only equitable, it's not sustainable. And then if you have only environment and economic, but you don't have any good social, what do you call that, strata in the society, and then that is only considered as viable. So in order to have sustainability, all three components must be there together, and then only you can call it that you have sustainable development, right? So these are the basic things that you should know. So from today onwards, if anybody asks you what is sustainable development, you should be able to tell them that it is actually meeting our current or present needs without compromising the needs of our future generation. And there are only three pillars of sustainability, and that is social, environment, and economic, right? So this is again coming back to the definition. You should know after today's class what is the definition of sustainability. So you go back to sustainable development, meeting the needs of the present generation without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So this is basically by the Brundtland Commission in 1987. And then there's another definition here. So you have sustainability, the possibility that human and other forms of life on Earth will flourish forever. So here you are not just talking about human being, we are also talking about other forms of life. Other forms of life means it can be all the flora and fauna that is available, right? So that we don't, how to say, if you look at the surrounding that you have today, a lot of species are going extinct, and that is because of our human activities. So how can you be sustainable so that both human and other forms of life can flourish forever? Forever here means forever, right? Not just in the next 20 or 30 years, it is forever. And then a very short definition, if you want to look at this, is you have enough for all. For all means who? All humans, other forms of life on this earth, forever. All right, so these are the three definitions. You can choose either one of them. So they are basically the same thing, but it's just that these two definitions are given to you so that you understand what we are talking here. Right? So the future generations, we are talking about human, and then all the other forms and everyone on this planet. Okay? So the three dimensions of sustainability. So this is another video, right? So let's look at it. Oh, the video is not available, so we can skip this. Right. So again, the three pillars as what we've been discussing, right? So we have economic, environmental, and social. So here, when we talk about economic pillar, so what we are talking about is you want to have opportunities for growth. So if your economy is not growing, so meaning to say that your GDP is not increasing, so that will result in what you call that, people having less money to spend, right? And this will cause a lot of instability and security issues, right? So your economy needs to grow sustainably, right? So you got to have jobs, right? And then you got to reduce unemployment. Now, why unemployment? You got to eradicate or reduce unemployment. Now, look at yourself for an example. So you have, let's say, MEC600. So we have a total of, let's say, 8 or 10 classes. So that will translate to almost about 250 students, right, of your batch, which will be graduating soon. Now, for all these 250 students, once you graduate, you expect some decent employment. And if you don't get any employment for the next 1, 2, 3, or 4 years after you graduate, that will show that, you know, our economy is not growing, and this will lead to other problems that is related to your social pillar, right? So that is why economic growth is important, so that we can avoid this issue that is related to unemployment, right? So you got to create jobs, and then when you talk about sustainability, you got to create green jobs, right? So not just any job, green jobs which are sustainable. And then you must also, when you are talking about economic growth, you got to prevent practices which misuse resources, right? For an example, Malaysia was covered by forest, right? Most of our land, 80% of our land was covered by forest in the last 50 years. But today, this is only slightly less. Right? Anyone with a mic problem? Right, so that is something that we got to prevent, right? So that we don't use misuse of resources. Resources here can be your natural resources, right? Which are finite. You got to basically be responsible. It's not to say that you don't cut down the forest. So you can do it, but you have to do it sustainably, right? So let's say you cut down 1 tree and then you replant another 10 trees, that is sustainable, All right. So then you must also have regulations so that you don't over-exploit, all right, and harm the externalities. All right. So this has all got to do with your economic. Now, when you talk about social here means once you have good economic growth, right, then you must make sure that the participation, right, and you include everyone in the economic growth. All right. So you just emphasize only one segment of the society in your economic growth, but you neglect the other segment of the society. It's also not good. It's also not sustainable. All right. And then you got to eradicate poverty. Poverty here means kemiskinan. So if you are poor, you miss out on a lot of things. But what can you do, right, in terms of achieving sustainable development? You got to eradicate the poverty. Eradicate means you bring them out from this poverty cycle so that they can actually provide for themselves, and then they can improve their life, right? And then not forgetting our food security. So you need to have food, right? Malaysia's, our staple food is rice, right? So you got to make sure that our food security is basically maintained by either planting more of the food that we need as our staple food, or guaranteeing some sort of import from some countries. So this is also very important. And then equitable distribution of resources. So we have an example, Petronas is the company that deals with our fossil fuel, especially petroleum products. And then are they distributing these resources equitably, right? So those are the questions that you got to ask. And then you must have better life chances. So for an example, 20 years ago and today, if you compare what were the lifestyle back 20 years ago, and did we improve into that, the lifestyle that we have today, or is it going bad compared to 20 years ago? And then you must also have protection from exploitative agendas and so on, right? So that is on social. And not forgetting our environment. So you got to protect your ecosystem. You have to improve your quality of air. Now, if you look at haze, right, jerebu and all those things, so the pollution of air kills a lot of people as well, right? So you got to make sure your land is protected, your water, right? So in Selangor, you can see that we have a lot of issues with water cuts, and that's due to pollution, right? So if you don't take care of your water resources, then this is going to be a big problem for everyone, right? So you must also manage your waste properly, right? And then minimize pollution, and then make sure you respect and protect all species, flora, fauna, and marine species, right? So don't pollute the environment. And then you must take measures to ensure resources, right, that can actually help you to sustain sustainability, and then live harmoniously with everyone. And not forgetting our marine resources, because you must remember 70% of our planet is covered with ocean, right? And that ocean houses a lot of marine resources, and at the same time, what we are doing now is we are polluting our oceans. So you have to do something so that you can actually protect these marine resources. So those are the three pillars, right? So in general, you can see that all these three, right, needs to be geared towards the sustainability. So next we move on. So this is your sustainability indicator. So let's say if you're talking about municipality, right, cities, whether they are sustainable or not. So there are some indicators that you can look at, right? So these are some of the indicators. If you want to look, let's say Shah Alam, right? So Shah Alam is a city now, right? So not a municipality, but there are some indicators that you can actually look at how well the city is basically adopting the sustainability values, right? So if you look at the economic security here, in economic security, you look at employment participation. What are your unemployment rate, right? If it's less than 4%, 3%, that's normal, right? Household shelter spending, percentage of low income people. So are they 40% of your population or even lower than that? And what is your household debt, right? So these two are basically a major issue in Malaysia nowadays. So our household debt is almost about 70 to 80%. So that's quite high. And then the percentage of low income people in Malaysia is roughly about 40%, right? So 40% of our 30 million people are in this bracket. So what can you do, right, in order to have economic security for them? And then you must also look at infrastructure and built environment, right? So do we have many green buildings around, right? So do we have green transportation? The green transportation here, for an example, if we have buses, are they running on diesel or are you using electrical transport, right? So local fruit production, right? Are we exploiting or are we using our lands effectively so that we can have more food produced? Are we using more renewable energy? And are we providing clean tech business opportunities, right? So that is one. So you look at ecological integrity as well. Here you consider the water quality and consumption, right? So is your water clean? Are your rivers clean? So do you provide any green spaces, right? All your taman that you have around you, so are they green? What about your air quality? Is your air fresh, right? So, or do you need to wear mask that you used to wear when the haze problem occurred? And then how do you divert your waste? And then how do you reduce your greenhouse gas emission? And then your urban biodiversity, right? You have many plants, many flora, many fauna that is available. And lastly, you must also consider your social well-being, your life satisfaction. So are you happy to live around here? Are you happy with your lifestyle? What about crime rate? So are your crime rates down or going up, right? So people with guns, right? People with parang going around. So that is also related to your social well-being. Health and access to care. So your hospitals are taking good care of you when you are not well, right? You have many cultural events where people get together. And we have very low homelessness. So that means people without house. So how are you taking care of their social well-being? And not forgetting our governance, right? And empowerment, good education system. So when you have elections, you have good voter turnout, city council diversity, household garbage limit, right? So this is so that you can be encouraged for recycling and greenhouse gas reduction target. So these are some of the things that you can actually look at. Right. So if you look at the entire indicators here, you will see that all the indicators are related to your sustainability pillars. So how you want to have a just and good social system, you have less pollution so that your environment is maintained, and then you have good economic growth through all these indicators. Right. So that is something that people are actually already looking into, so that you can have a city, right, or municipality with good sustainability values, right? Now we go into our next part here, right? So this is our United Nations Sustainability Goals. So these are the 17 goals that you have. So we have in total 17, and if you look at it, so these goals were actually set in the year 2015, and then we got to achieve all these goals by 2030, right? So we will go through all these goals one by one in our next slides, but it is just that you got to know that we have a total of 17 goals, and all these 17 goals are related to your sustainable development. And then if you still remember, we have 3 pillars for sustainable development. One is social, one is economic, and one is environment. And all these 17 goals are actually referring to those 3 pillars, right? So if you can achieve all these 17 goals, you can say that you are basically heading towards good sustainable development goals by 2030, right? So we will see that one by one. Right. So let's look at another video.
Did you know that the UN Sustainable Development Goals are a universal call to action that unites 193 countries around the world? If these global goals are fulfilled by 2030, life on Earth will be better for everyone. So, what are these goals? Eliminate poverty in all its forms. No hunger. Everyone should have safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. Everyone has equal access to healthcare, thus ensuring our well-being and a healthy life. Equal access to a quality education. Ensure gender equality where women and girls have the same opportunities as men and boys. By achieving these goals, each member of our society will be equal, safe, and happy. UN global goals also include access to safe drinking water and sanitation, access to clean energy that is safe for people and the environment, sustainable and stable economic growth. Everyone has a decent job, strong infrastructure, and the support of innovations. Lower inequality within and among countries. Cities and settlements be developed without damaging the environment and people. Achieving these goals will result in the well-being of people and our planet. We can further take care of our environment with the following goals: sustainable and safe production and consumption of products. Take urgent measures to reduce climate change and its impact. Ensure the sustainable use and protection of ocean and sea resources. Restore and protect Earth's ecosystems. By achieving these goals, we will form a society where strong institutions ensure peace and justice. It is important for everyone to be involved and to build partnerships for achieving sustainable development goals. You are part of this process. Demand the implementation of these goals. Take the lead and share information with your friends.
Okay, so that was a general overview on what your sustainable development goals are about. So 17 goals in all, and this was set by our United Nations, right? So I hope you know what is United Nations, all right? So in short, you call it UN, all right? So this was some important points for the United Nations is given here on the slide, right? So it's international organization founded in 1945. That was after World War II, right? So we have 193 member states. Mostly all the countries are there in the United Nations, right? So if you look at it, the mission and work of the United Nations, you have here, what they want to do is they just want to make sure that everyone is how to say, you avoid confrontational, right? So World War II, there was not a body to basically avoid the conflicts. So you have this United Nations, so you can take action on the issues confronting humanity, all right, especially in the 21st century. So you try to maintain peace and security, right? So you're not just talking about peace here. You are also talking about climate change, sustainable development, more on the human rights, disarmament, right? So this is if you are a nuclear power, right? So what can we do to disarm your nuclear power? Terrorism, right? How to tackle terrorism? Humanitarian. So here, if we have, let's say, a war in a country and then people are devastated. So what can you do in terms of humanitarian to go and help them, right? And then health emergencies. So if you look at WHO is also under one of the agencies here, right? So COVID-19 is a big health emergency. So you can have a body like United Nations, all right, together with all the 193 member states working together to overcome the type of health emergencies that we have today. You are also talking about gender equality. Later we will see why this is and why this is very important, because you must understand, out of the 6 billion people or 7 billion people that we have on our planet here, 50% are male, 50% are females, and if you don't have gender equality, half of our population will be sidelined, and that is not good for sustainable development. All right. So you're also talking about governance, right? So good governance, right? Those without any issues. And when you have 7 billion people on our planet, you must also talk about sustainable way of food production, so that everyone gets enough food, no one goes hungry, right? So these are some of the things that you can actually look at, right? So they have Security Council, they have Economic Council, Social Council, all right, in the General Assembly. So usually they have dialogues, negotiations, right? And there's only one Chief Administrative Officer, so we call that Chief Administrative Officer as Secretary General. So that is something that you should know about United Nations. So it's an international body formed after World War II to maintain global peace. So you have 193 peace-loving countries, and then you have other initiatives besides maintaining global peace. They provide disaster relief, countering terrorism, promoting nuclear non-proliferation, right? All nations actually contribute to UN budget, right? So they can have part of the funding. And while the UN has no right to make binding laws, its decision reflects the prevailing values and goals of its members to arrive at global consensus, right? So they can't have what they call that binding laws and then force you to follow it. But what they do is they can make decisions that reflect the prevailing values and goals of its members to arrive at global consensus. So that is on United Nations, right? So this is just a short video again on how does the United Nations work.
So imagine a world parliament. Imagine 193 voices gathering together in New York to deliberate over matters of peace and security. The United Nations was established in 1945 with the signatory of 50 countries for the express purpose of preventing the outbreak of war and averting a world war. The United Nations has many parts to it. It deals, for instance, with matters of economics and social policy. It deals with matters of human rights. It deals with matters of culture. But the most important parts of the UN are the Security Council, which has 5 permanent members who are responsible for controlling its policy. These are France, Britain, the United States, China, and Russia. The other body that is very important is where all the nations meet and come together, and that is the General Assembly. Both the General Assembly and the Security Council pass what are called resolutions to make policy for the world. The UN has been responsible for eradicating polio in Africa, for instance, of dealing with problems of debt or problems of other diseases spreading. The UN has been very important in making sure that human rights are observed. The most famous document is the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, which has been ratified and kept by many countries. The UN, precisely because it's so complex, is determined to make sure that everything is done towards a big picture of peace and trying to make sure that humanity attains the primary purpose of what it says, that we believe. We believe in a better future.
Okay, so that was a short video on how does the United Nations work. So again, this is to make sure that everything is brought under control, right? So if you want to know further, you can actually explore what is United Nations and what is Security Council, what is General Assembly, right? So these are the 17 sustainable goals that we hope can help us to transform our world. So we'll go through one by one, right? So goal number 1, if you look at it, is end poverty in all its form everywhere and so on, right? So there are 17 goals. We'll be covering each one of that, right? This will be done quite briefly because of the time limits that we have. but at the same time, I'll try to explain it in detail, as much detail as I can, right? So this is our goal number 1. So goal number 1 is on poverty, right? So if you look at the diagram here, half of all the people in our planet here lives in poverty. So if you look at people in Africa, right? So they are living in poverty, but at the same time we say that everyone deserves the chance to prosper, right? So what can you do so that through these sustainable development goals you can eradicate poverty, right, throughout the world, not just in any country, right? So you can do a lot, right? So you can actually help them. So usually people who are poor, they don't have access to healthcare, right? So and then they are mostly unemployed. So what can you do, right, so that you can ensure social protection? So those are some of the things that you need to do if you look at the cartoon that is shown here, right? So you got to make sure that all the people, it doesn't matter whether they are poor or rich, they have equal access to this basic services, right? Your hospital, right? Public transportation. They have equal access to labor and land, right? They have equal access to technology. So in today's world, if you notice, technology plays an important role. So you can't come to campus, but here we are having the class, right? But that is only available, that is only achievable because we have the technology to do it. So what if people who are poor and who can't afford this, right? So we have to make sure through this SDG goal number 1, people are able to access technology. It doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor, this should be accessible by all. And then you should also be able to access business and job opportunities. So this is what they want to do. So poverty is about not having enough money to meet basic needs, including food, clothing, and shelter. So food, clothing, and shelter are your basic needs. So if you're poor, you are not able to fulfill that, right? So one of the goal here is to make sure that everyone in society is protected, right? Everyone is employed. You are not unemployed, right? You have good access to support services like medical care, right? So our hospitals in Malaysia, thank God, it's one of the cheapest and is accessible to all, right? You just need to pay RM1 and you can get world-class medical care, right? So this is called social protection, and this is meant to protect and support the poorest and the most vulnerable people. So you must make sure your resources are also allocated properly, right? So you give them some sort of what do you call that, allowances or some sort of monetary assurance, right? So that they can have equal access to basic services, labor, land, and technology, right? And then you build the resilience of people with less money. So you teach them, you guide them so that they can come out of poverty and actually help improve them. So that is sustainability goal number 1. Now, if you look at this, so this is, if you look at the 4 diagrams here, this is what we can say poverty, how poverty affects you. So if you look at the diagram on the top left, so those are people, right? So in Malaysia, so these are all Malaysia. I've taken it from what do you call that, internet sources, and these are in Malaysia. We are not going into any other places yet. So even in Malaysia, we have issues with poverty. So if you look at Orang Aslis, so Orang Aslis are the people most affected with poverty issues. So they are they have issues with shelter, right? Let's not talk about technology, definitely, because they have no access to electricity. So that's also another issue there. Now, if you look at the next diagram here, so this is again, if you look at it, related to poverty, right? So they have the basic needs that they want. So you have a cooking gas here, you have electricity, but can you say that they are not poor? They are still categorized as poor. And then look at the diagram here. This is one of the villages in Sabah, which is built on water. So poverty here is not just affecting the human being, but look at the environment, how damaging it is for the environment, right? And not forgetting the picture where someone is basically eating, right? So you can see the environment around it. So this is these are all four pictures here tells you something that people around us are going through the vicious cycle of poverty. So what we need to do is, or what can we do to help them come out from this cycle of poverty, right? So that is where the sustainability development goal is. So you got to train them, the government needs to help them, right? You need to come out with the proper courses so that they can be trained and they can be employed, and then they can come out from this cycle of poverty, right? Okay, so far good. Any issues? Can somebody respond? Any questions so far? All okay?
No.
Hope nobody is sleeping, eh? Right.
Okay, sir.
So far, okay, that's good to hear. Now let's look at one video.
Welcome to Project Earth again. In this video, we'll be talking about UN Sustainable Development Goal number 1, which is all to do with ridding our world of poverty. Here's what we know. About 47.3 million Americans live in poverty, and about 97.3 million are underpaid, which means that 144.6 million Americans have financial difficulties. More than 1 in 5 children live under the poverty line. Also, many schools don't have adequate education opportunities, and many jobs do not pay well. Here's what the UN strives to do. By the year 2030, the UN would like to completely eliminate poverty for all the world, and to ensure that all people have equal rights to economic resources, as well as access to basic services and ownership over things like new technology and financial services. Here are some things you can do to help. If you see a person or a group of people in need, then giving them just a little food, water, or anything would make a big difference, and it would spread that mindset to the people around you. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out all the other sustainable development videos on the Earth Again channel. Have a great rest of your day.
Right, so that video showed you about poverty in America. So if you look at the video, you can see that almost 50 million people. So US population is about, I think it's almost about 300 million plus. Out of that 300 million plus, 50 million people living under poverty, right? So that's about 1/6 of their population don't have enough to meet their basic needs, food, clothing, right, and so on. So this United Nations Sustainable Development Goal is basically working with everyone. Everyone here means you, me, and everyone, right? To help to eradicate poverty, right? So that at least people are able to meet their basic needs, right? Food, shelter, and so on, clothing. If you don't do that, there will be other issues which we will see in our next SDG goals, right? So in Malaysia too, we need to help to eradicate poverty, and bear in mind, we need to achieve this goal by 2030. Today is already 2020, next year is going to be 2021. So you got less than about 10 years, less than 10 years to achieve this, right? So if everyone works together, right, government, right, citizens, and everyone, we can definitely achieve, let's say, Malaysia without anyone who is poor, right? So let's see how it goes. So this is a summary of description. So what we need is, at the moment we have 700 million people who live in extreme poverty, right? So they don't have health, education, access to water and sanitation. Sanitation here means tandas, right? So they do have their business in the open, right? So they don't have, so this is also a problem related to poverty. Now when you talk about 700 million people, this is basically in the whole world, right? Now what you can do is, you can do all this. Most of the people, they are poor not because they want to be poor, it's because they don't have employment. So you generate productive employment, right? So these are the efforts you can do. generate job opportunities for the poor, get economic opportunities for the poor, and then increase the awareness about the impact of poverty, all right, like what you are going through now. You are learning about poverty, all right, and what are the impacts of poverty around you, so that, you know, we have about 200 to 300 students who is taking this course every semester. You can actually go out when you are working, do something about this, all right, and then enable access to safe drinking water, reduce death caused by waterborne diseases, improve hygiene to reduce health risk related to unsafe drinking water. So these are some of the efforts you can actually take to help to achieve your SDG goal number 1. So those are number 1. Now, coming back from poverty, now you look at your goal number 2, which is zero hunger. Zero hunger means you don't go hungry, right? Look at this diagram here. You will see that certain segment of society have got more than enough food on their table. More than enough. They don't need this much, but they have so much to eat, so much to choose from. And then if you can look at the diagram again, there are also many people who don't have enough food, right? So who are struggling every day just to put food on their table. So this is related to goal number 2, where they want to eliminate hunger, meaning to say that everybody will get enough nutrition, right? So everyone is basically properly fed, right? And nobody goes hungry. So what you can do is you can actually make changes in your own life, right? So you support your local farmers, right, and markets, and you make sustainable food choices, right? So you have good nutrition for all. And then one of the things that you need to look at, Malaysia, 40% of our food is basically goes to waste. So we generate a lot of food waste. So you can minimize your food waste. You can also use your power as consumer and voter, demanding businesses and government to make the choices and changes that will make zero hunger a reality. So you can give out food coupons for those people who are affected, right? Those who are poor, and then make sure that they have food on their table, right? Especially the children. There's a lot of issue with malnutrition, right? So we will cover that in our next slides. And then you can have joined the conversation, right? So you have zero hunger challenge. So these are some of the things that you can actually look at after this class. So what is zero hunger challenge, right? So you can look into that. So you can join that. This is a global movement for zero hunger, where you support people who don't have much to eat, and then that can help them to achieve this second goal called zero hunger, right? So another video here.
Welcome to Project Earth again. In this video, we'll be talking about UN Sustainable Development Goal number 2, which is all to do with ridding our world of hunger. Here's what we know. About 795 million people in today's world are undernourished, and over 90 million children under the age of 5 are dangerously underweight. That's almost 1 person in 9. Also, many countries often experience droughts and famines, which can affect the diets of many people. These people may never know when their next meal will be. Here's what the UN strives to do. Truth is, their next meal could be right now. By the year 2030, the UN would like to completely eliminate all forms of malnutrition. In addition, there will be international agreements on stunting and wasting, which will be practiced in the year 2025. Here are some things you can do to help. It's as easy as donating food to your local shelter or giving a bag of food to a poor person. If you don't finish your plate at any meal, try not to throw it out. That bit of food could have been someone's next meal. Hey, thanks for watching. Make sure to check out
So that was on a video on zero hunger. You can see that what you as a responsible person you can do. The simplest thing you can do is you can actually donate some food packets to those who are actually going hungry. So those people who are actually poor, so that they can have nutritious food, right? So these are some of the things that you can actually look at, right? The problems related to why people are going hungry. So one of the reason is we don't have what you call that, due to climate change, the harvest is affected. So when harvest is affected due to climate change, you get drought, kemarau. So when you have drought, you can't grow food, and then that leads to food scarcity, right? We also have food wastage, right? So you don't waste food. Make sure you eat what you need. You don't waste it, right? So that can also lead to food scarcity. Food scarcity means not enough, right? You also have wars, right? So if you look at Syria, Yemen, so these two countries are at war at the moment, and then they have this led to a negative impact on the availability of food. You will see that people there are actually malnutritious. And then you also have wars that have led to destruction of environment, right? So once you have, let's say, chemical war, then that place environment is not suitable for growing food, and this will have negative effect to the growth of food, right? So what you can do is support your local farmers. So we have Pasar Tani, Pasar Farmer, right? So go and support them, buy food from them, make sustainable food choices, right? Support good nutrition for all, and then you got to fight food waste so that we don't waste food. Nah? So these are some of the things that you can look at. So this is the first diagram that I'm highlighting to you here is actually in Malaysia. So these are all the homeless people, gelandangan in KL, Chowkit area. And you will see that every day, basically, there are some people who are feeding them, and they are actually lining up to get their food. And usually they get one proper meal a day. Every day, only one meal. So there are societies, organizations, NGOs who are actually helping them, right, or feeding them at least one proper meal a day. So you will see that there are many of these scenarios in our city in KL, right? So it's quite common to see that there. And we were also discussing about waste, food wastage. So the latest statistics that I've learned, 40% of our food is basically wasted. So you can see here, all this food can actually feed someone, but what do? We waste it, we throw it in the landfill, right? So, and that's not sustainable. And one of the major issue that we have with our children in Malaysia, this is Africa. I'm also talking about children in Malaysia. Their growth is stunted. Stunted means they are not growing as how they must grow. So for an example, if you look at the WHO standard for a 9-year-old, so once you reach 9 years of age, your height should be about 132 cm. And you see that these people in Africa, they are not reaching. All of them are actually 9 years old, and they are not reaching the standard height that is needed. So this is basically related to your stunted growth. And why you have stunted growth is because you are hungry. You don't have enough nutrition. And you can see on this graph here. So this is basically stunting prevalence in Malaysia. And we see that in the world, the stunting prevalence is going down. But in Malaysia, in the last few years, our stunting prevalence has started to go up. So this shows that our children is not having enough food, or they don't have enough nutrition to grow. And if the young children or the young population is stunted, and this is going to affect everyone, right? So this has got to do with our zero hunger. So I've related back to our own country so that we know that we have this issue. So what can we do to eliminate this, right? Zero hunger. So that was on zero hunger. Now goal number 3 is on good health and well-being. Of course, you have a life, let's say if nothing happens to you, you will live up to, for Malaysia, our average life expectancy is right into the 70s. So you should be able to live up to the age of 70 without a problem in Malaysia, right? But if you go to Japan, you can go up to 80 and so on. Now, to maintain your health, you need to have good health and well-being, right? So you need to have a safe, healthy birth for mother and child. So that is why you will see that nowadays all the hospitals, you will have that, what you call that, the complex wanita and kanak-kanak, and that is to actually support this, so that you reduce the infant mortality rate. So for every childbirth that you have, all right, so your death is basically minimized, right? So you need to have that. So your early childhood needs to be good, right? So our healthcare for childhood, for child here is good. We have under the age of 5, they are very vulnerable, right? So you need to have this good support system so that they grow up to be healthy, right? So you can have protection from preventable diseases. So that's where your vaccination comes in. And of course, you don't want to be addicted, right, to drugs and so on, right? So freedom from addiction. So we don't want that. Even we try to have people not addicted to drugs, but somehow they still get involved. But what can you do is, can you provide them treatment? So that is on that. Knowing your body and rights, right? And then access to healthcare. So if you are not well, can you get access to healthcare immediately or not? So for an example, if you are seriously injured, how long it takes for you to reach the hospital? So is it going to be a day? Is it going to be 2 days? Or can you reach the hospital within an hour? So those are the things that you need to have in order to have good health and well-being, right? So you can raise awareness in your community, right? So take action through school, clubs and teams, right, to promote better health for all. And you can also hold your government, local leaders, right, so that they can improve people's access to health and healthcare. So bear in mind, our Malaysia's healthcare system is one of the best, right, but there are still a lot of room for improvement. So definitely this is something that we should actually aim for, good health and well-being. So a video here is there. You can, I think I leave it to you. You can watch it later, right, after the class. So this is some of the efforts you can actually look at, right. Now, this is an important statement here. More than 6 million children die before their 5th birthday each year. And that is because they don't have good health and well-being, right. Only half of women in developing regions have access to healthcare they need. And you have epidemics like HIV, AIDS, thrive, where fear and discrimination limits people's ability to receive the services they need. Because those who have HIV and AIDS, if they are discriminated, and of course they will not get the services and the well-being that they need, right? So these are some of the problem. And then here are some of the efforts that you can actually look at, right? So you have universal health coverage, right? Malaysia, we are good because you can walk into hospital basically for free, right? You just pay minimal charges, you are taken care of. Making essential medicines and vaccines affordable. So most of our vaccines, if you go to government clinics, are free. Ensuring that women have full access to sexual and reproductive health care, especially to women who give birth, right? So we have one of the best systems available for them. And then we got to end all the preventable deaths of children, right? Especially for those who are from 0 to 5 years of age. Vaccinate all children, right? Promote and create awareness of good health and healthy lifestyle, right? If you read 50% or 40% to 50% of our population is obese right now. So what can you do to create some sort of awareness so that people can have a good health and healthy lifestyle? So those are some of the things, aspect that you need to cover. And you must also have people's right to quality healthcare and services, improve people's access to health and healthcare. So this is what we have, right? So as I've mentioned, we have one of the best healthcare in the world. If you look at the scores here, efficiency scores, our Malaysia is one of the best. So one of the best. So we are here. We have the highest, even better than America, right? So you can see Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, China, right? Some parts of Europe, right? Canada, right? Mexico. So their healthcare is one of the best. So these are some of the one of the photographs that I can show you. of the wards that we have in Malaysia. Now you compare this of the wards that you have in places like Bangladesh, India, right? And this is how people are treated. They have no beds, no enough beds, and they are just left on the floor. And what can you say about the healthcare system there? It is there, but is it of a quality healthcare system? So if you look at Malaysia, everyone is actually on a bed, right? Sometimes you have air-conditioned wards, and this one don't even have fans. So in a way, we have good health system, but of course there are rooms for improvement. But you can see that most of Africa, right, South Asian nation, even in Indonesia, right, South America region, their healthcare is of what you call that, either the scores are not available, or they are of what you call that, reasonably not good healthcare system, right? So that is for SDG. So this is in what you call that, Africa. So even if in Africa, you can see that it's just a normal room, right, where the babies and the mothers are just left there, right? So this can actually be quite bad, as we discussed. The babies from the age of birth right to the age of 5 needs to be taken care of properly, right? So these are some of the aspects that you can see. Now next is related to you. Now you are a student, and then the future of this country, right, the future of nation. Now goal number 4 is related to quality education. So what they want is everyone, all right, not just in this country, in fact everyone in the world should have access to quality education, right? Quality education. So here you ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, everyone, right? So these are some of the why does education matter, right? So it's one of the SDG goals. When people are able to get quality education, they can break free from the cycle of poverty. So this is again related to your first goal, that is to eradicate poverty. So education helps to reduce inequalities, and they can also improve the gender inequality issues, right? So it empowers people everywhere to live more healthy and sustainable lives. And education is also crucial to fostering tolerance between people and contribute to most peaceful societies. So this is what you can do, right? So government should actually place education as a priority. So I believe in Malaysia, this is a priority, right? So we must ensure that everyone gets quality education. This includes the, when you say for all, that means even for the indigenous people. So that is the Orang Asli people, right? So encourage the private sector to invest resources in development of education tools and facilities, right? So you can see this cartoon here, right? So how quality education helps to provide talent for the future development of our country, right? So you must have good training, right? And you must also have good funding. You must provide scholarships and so on, right? So that you can actually, from the training, you can have well-trained and motivated teachers. With scholarships, you know, everyone, those who can't afford to study, they are also able to get access to quality education. Right, so there's a video there. I believe I leave it to you. You can actually watch it on your own. All right. So the points there we've actually discussed. All right. So you need education in order to get good employment. Without education, it is very hard to get good employment. So for an example, if you don't have an engineering degree, you cannot become an engineer in Malaysia, right? So that is why the quality education, SDG number 4, helps to give you good vocational, technical, right, or the job skills education that you need in order to get good employment in the future. So these are the efforts that you can take, right? Make sure enrollment in primary education is almost compulsory. In Malaysia, it's compulsory. So you need to have at least primary education. Everyone needs to go to primary education. We must make sure that the women and girls are also properly educated. In Malaysia, we don't have this issue. but in many countries, the women are not allowed to go to school, right? So you must make sure that they have access to education. Education should be prioritized and it should be affordable. If it's too expensive, then nobody can study, right? So it has to be affordable, and then try to encourage private sector to invest in it, right? So this is in Malaysia, you can see. So this is a typical classroom in Malaysia, right? So you can say that our education is quite good, right? Can still be improved. So the diagram below here shows the classroom in Finland, right? So you can see here we still have an issue of too many students in a class. So in Finland they will have right up to, I think, not more than 15 students in a class, right? So as I said, we still have rooms for improvement. But if you compare to other countries, we are not so bad. So this is in India. They don't have classroom. They sit on the floor. They don't have blackboard, right? They do have teachers, but the lessons are conducted outdoors like this, even in Africa like this, right? So they don't have structures where they can build classrooms, but they do conduct classes in the outdoors. And you know, if you conduct classes in the outdoors, you have things related to, you know, rain, right? Hot weather and so on. So it's going to be very, very uncomfortable. So these are the things that we need to improve in terms of providing quality education for all, right? So education is the key. You can unlock your potential, right? So you can actually go through this. So education also promotes gender equality. So all the women and girls are basically being educated, and then they can actually help to increase their income, narrow your wage gaps, right, and promote economic independence. And once the woman starts working, you will have surplus income, which will also benefit their families and communities, right? And there's only one way to learn about environmentalism and sustainable development, and that is through education. So education can actually help you to gain the knowledge, right? So you can have strong foundation for implementing sustainable development in every aspect, not just in agriculture, all right? You can have for human rights, gender equality, peace, global citizenship, and so on. So next we go to gender equality. So gender equality, you have a lot of issues in a lot of countries. So some countries, they don't allow women or girls to participate in any activities, all right? So you can discuss that on your own, or you can find out on your own. So goal number 5 is related to that. Women and girls worldwide often live disadvantaged lives. Here's what you can do about it. So first thing is you got to end all violence against women and girls, right? Second is you got to recognize and value women's work at home, right? So if they are homemaker, you got to know that that's also a job that is highly recognized, right? Highly valued, right? And encourage women and girls to participate in all political, economic, and public spheres. So women are also CEOs of big companies. Women can also become prime minister of a country, and so on, all right? And under the law of any country, they should have equal rights. If you read 60 to 70 years ago, even in America, women were not allowed to vote in elections. So that shows that they don't have equal rights under the law. So they fought for their rights, and I think 60 years ago they were allowed to vote, all right? So that is one example on how our law can ensure that women get equal rights, right? So that is under goal number 5, gender equality. So this is how it affects them, right? So if you want to have good economic growth, women and girls empowerment is essential. So they need to be that. So for an example, in engineering, right? So we need more women in engineering. So what can we do so that we can encourage them, especially our young girls, to like STEM related activities? Because once you have good participation from them, it can help to expand our economic growth and also promote good social development, right? So full participation of women in labor forces would add percentage points to most national growth rates. So if you have very good participation, your growth can be in the form in the range of double digits, right? So these are the things that you can do. If you are a girl, stay in school, empower your female classmates, right? So have good what you call access to health services. If you are a woman, you can address unconscious biasness. So if you think you are being discriminated, you are being biased, highlight it so that you can be treated as equal. If you are a man or boy, you can work alongside women and girls to achieve gender equality, right? So this is responsibility of all the men and boys out there. And you can also fund education campaign, right, to curb some cultural practices, right? And you can also change harmful laws that limit the rights of women and girls and prevent them from achieving their full potential. So this is on what you call that, gender equality, right? So there's a video, please have a look when you have time after class. So these are some of the things that you can achieve. Most of it we've discussed it, right? So it is very important to have gender equality in order to achieve economic growth. Right? So this is a diagram. So if you look at it, this diagram, so there's a race. These three lanes are men, right? So nothing in front of them, and then these are women. So it's just an illustration to show what women go through in their workplace. So men go just work, that's it. But women who are working, they need to take care of so many things. You know, the clothes, the cooking, the ironing, the washing, and so on. So there are a lot of hurdles for them as well, right? So can you say that you achieve gender equality, right? So if you have a woman CEO and a man CEO, do you think they go through the same path, right? Or are there many hurdles in front of a woman? So what can you do to eliminate this? And then this is another diagram on gender inequality. So a man working in an office, what he has got to be worried about? Only his work. But if you have a woman who's working in an office, can you see besides her work, there are so many things that she needs to pay attention to, right? So these are some examples of gender inequality as well. And then most of the jobs are basically dominated by male. So you will see that the paths created by the male for their male subordinates is quite clear. But for women, they've got to create their own path. There's no help for them. So you got to eliminate this as well. And then the guide, the process of progressing for a male working adult is basically very straightforward, but for a woman it's not that straightforward, right? So these are some examples of gender equality that you can actually see, that inequality that you see is happening in our society, right? So clean water and sanitation is also important. Why you need clean water? Because 70% of your body is made out of water. So if you don't drink clean water, then you will not have a proper health. So we got to be responsible with our water sources, right? So if you look at some of the points here, 1.8 billion people globally use a source of drinking water that is fecally contaminated. Fecally contaminated means you have fecal matters. Fecal matters means you guna tandas. So everything is, there's no in the water, everything goes into the water source, and about 2 billion people, they are drinking water with fecal matter in it, right? So you don't want to do that. 2.4 billion people lack access to basic sanitation services, so they don't have toilets. So imagine, you don't have toilet, what are you going to do? Where are you going to do? Right, there's 2.4 billion. So water scarcity, not enough water, affects 40% of the global population, and more than 80% of wastewater resulting from human activities discharged into rivers, right? So that is what we have problems with our Ais Lango as well. A lot of pollution is discharged before the processing plant, and that is what is causing the water cut. So you will see that we need to have clean water, right? access to clean water is still a big issue. Almost 2 billion people don't have water. Our water is stressed, so fresh water is very limited. So people in Singapore, UAE, right, Cyprus, they don't have enough water resources. So they got to come out with innovative ways to get access to clean water, right? So we are the problem and we are also the solution, right? So what can you do to overcome this? So you can see that 80% of wastewater resulting from human activities is discharged into rivers. So can we recycle them, right? So there's a video, you can actually have a look. So these are some of the examples of efforts that you can actually do to overcome this problem. And look at this diagram. So this is not anywhere outside Malaysia. This is actually Malaysia. So you will see that this is piped water, the one that I'm showing you here in the diagram. This is piped water, and you see the quality of water that is coming out from that. So that shows that our water is not clean, or not clean properly. And why is it not clean? Because it's our own irresponsible acts. You see how we throw away all the garbage and unwanted things into the river. So this is a river, not ocean, and that pollutes the river. And like it or not, river is the source of our water. So if you don't make it clean, or if you don't maintain its cleanliness, this is what's going to happen. So I don't think anybody wants to drink this water, right? And I don't think anybody will also bathe in this water, right? So you got to be responsible. So make sure you maintain our water resources so that we can get access to clean water all the time, right? So that is on goal number 6. Goal number 7 is on affordable and clean energy. Now, fossil fuel is not clean, right? But it is affordable. Clean energy is clean, but at the same time, it's not falling into the affordable range, right? So the Sustainable Development Goal is basically helping everyone to achieve a goal where you can get clean energy. Clean energy here means energy from the sun, right? Energy from the wind, right? Also energy from water through dams and so on, right? You can also get geothermal energy, photovoltaic energy, right? So that is clean energy, but at the same time it should be affordable, right? So why you need clean energy is because you don't want to pollute the environment. So if you look at wind energy, we are not creating any pollution. If you look at the energy from the sun, when you convert from the photovoltaic, you are not creating any pollution, right? So geothermal heat as well, all right? So all the energies that are clean, you are not polluting the environment. So that contributes to sustainability, right? So how can you achieve affordable and clean energy, all right? So your countries can accelerate the transition. So we had a target of producing 25% of our energy through green energy, right? So that is something that we are actually aiming and hope that we can achieve this by 2025. New businesses can actually look at using only clean energy. You can place a lot of photovoltaics, right? Employers can reduce the internal demand of transport, right? So now you don't transport, you can have meetings online, right? So those are the things. Investors can invest more in sustainable energy, right? And you as a person, what can you do, all right? So you save on electricity. So those appliances that you're not using, you can reduce them, right? So this is another video, you can have a look, right, when you have time, right? So explaining to you what is affordable and clean energy, right? So these are some of the efforts you can look at. So improve access to electricity, right? Invest in sustainable energy infrastructure, photovoltaic. Accelerate the transition to affordable and reliable sustainable energy system. You got to invest in renewable energy resources, right? And all the other things, right? So the last one you can see here, promote using bike. You should walk, take public transport. So this is to help to reduce carbon emission, right? So this is people without energy. So we don't have this situation in Malaysia, but there are many people in the world who don't have access to electricity. So electricity is the form of energy. So perhaps through these sustainable development goals, we can help them to get access to clean energy, but at the same time it should be affordable, right? So those who are cooking, even if for those who are studying, right? So you need electricity. So this is the current scenario in underdeveloped countries that you see here, right? So even those who are having dinner. So this is somewhere in Eastern Europe, right? So the people still don't have access to energy. So hopefully through this goal by 2030, everyone will have access to affordable and clean energy. Next we are going is on the decent work and economic growth. All of you know, if there is growth in economy, there is work. If there is no growth in economy, there is no work. So if you want to work, your economy must grow. If your economy don't grow, then you will have no work. And if you have no work, then you have all the other problems, right? So here what they are trying to do is they want to provide decent work and economic growth. So what do you mean by decent work? So decent work here means you have opportunity for everyone to get work that is productive and delivers a fair income. You don't want to work and monthly you get only 500 ringgit. No good, right? You want to work, you want to have a decent work so that you can get a salary that you can actually bring back home to support yourself and your family. You can own a house, you can own a vehicle. So that is what they mean by decent work, right? And also important, under the category of decent work, all men and women should be given equal opportunity in workplace, right? So this is under decent work. So your youth, the government plays a very important role, right? So they should build dynamic, sustainable and innovative, people-centric economies. So you have a lot of things on IR 4.0 and so on going on. So the government needs to actually help to provide good economic growth so that everyone can get access to decent work, right? So these are some of the important elements, right? So that everyone can freely choose a safe, fairly paid, secure and fulfilling job. No one is excluded. To end and prevent child labor. So we don't have child labor in Malaysia, but this child labor is pretty prevalent in South Asia countries. Forced labor, right? Buruh paksa, a lot of that. Modern slavery is also that. So we don't want that in SDG goal number 8. So everyone benefits from a growing economy. Unemployment is basically minimized, right? Business has natural resources wisely. So that is on decent work, right? There's a video here which you can look into, right? And these are some of the efforts that you can actually use. One of the points that you must remember here is 170 million people in 2007 were unemployed, and this number increased to 202 million in 2012. If you expect today, 2020, it will be much higher, right? Not 1 million, not 2 million. This is 200 million people, no jobs, right? So you got to create decent work and economic growth for them. So provide you the best opportunity to transition to a decent job, right? You got to invest in good education and training and provide highest possible of quality. So that is why you need to provide quality education. So youth must be provided with skills that match labor market demands, right? So the courses that you do must make sure that they meet the market demands. You build dynamic, sustainable and innovative and people-centered economies. So we were agrarian-based economy, so agriculture-based economies before 80s. Then when Tun Mahathir came, we industrialized our economy, and as a result of that, our economic growth exploded, right? Now we are still stuck at middle income nation. So what can we do so that we can actually have a decent economic growth? So AI is the next growth engine that the country is looking into. So if you want, you should actually equip yourself with the latest skill in terms of programming, artificial intelligence, and that can actually help to propel our economic growth as well, right? So renew and plan cities and human settlements to stimulate innovation and employment. So innovation, if you look at Grab, Food Panda, that is some sort of innovation that is basically now contributing to our economy. Not just in terms of food, Grab vehicle, and then the autonomous vehicle, and you also have this what you call that flying drones and so on. So those are some of the innovations that can actually be used to help us to spur our economic growth in the future, so that everyone is employed, right? So this is what you see if people are not employed. So if you have good economic status, this is what you get. If you don't have bad economic status, very high unemployment, factories are closed, businesses are closed, and that can lead to riots. Right? This is a riot in Chile, and this riot was caused because of bad economic status. So we don't want that in Malaysia. And this is also in Zimbabwe. So you will see that Zimbabwe started printing a lot of money without consideration to their economic, and as a result of that, the value of their money dropped, and now this is roughly about 100 ringgit. So 100 ringgits worth of paper money is this much. So imagine going to market, just to change your money, and this is what you get. So this is all results of bad economic planning, right? So we don't want to be in this situation. So SDG, this goal will help us to prevent that, right? Now goal number 9 is for industry, innovation and infrastructure. So this is to provide good infrastructure for the economy, good infrastructure for the industry, good innovation, right? So we have many ports in Malaysia. So that is an infrastructure, an example. Innovation, our businesses are moving towards IR 4.0. Those are the innovations. And we have many industrial parks, right? So if you look around UITM, the whole of Shah Alam is filled with industrial parks. Bukit Raja Industrial Park, right? The Shah Alam section 20 onwards are all filled with HICOM industrial parks and so on. So these are some of the things that you can actually achieve through goal number 9, right? We all need to be connected so we can work together towards innovation, right? So small businesses must get credit, technological support. You provide affordable internet access for all, right? We know that is very important in today's world. Promote inclusive, sustainable industrialization, right? So that is on the industry. So this is another video you should look at, right? So some of the efforts that you can use to improve what you call that industry, innovation and infrastructure goal is by having good roads, information and communication technologies, sanitation, good electrical power system and water, good standard, and promote regulations that ensure company projects and initiatives are sustainably managed, promote sustainable growth, right, in development countries. So this is if we have good industry based on the goal that we were discussing, and this is the things that you will see. So if you look at the first diagram here, this is the Apple campus. So Apple campus here is a US 5 billion ringgit building where you have a few thousand people working here, and this is full with what you call that innovation, and they have good infrastructure to support innovation as well, right? In Malaysia, we are also good, right, in terms of supporting our industries. This is in Dubai, right, and this is in Shanghai. So if you have good infrastructure, you have good industry, and this will be reflected in the development of the country itself. So next one is number 10, we reduce inequalities. So inequalities here means you must have transformative change, okay? So what you need to do is you eradicate, you reduce extreme poverty and hunger, all right? You invest a lot in health, education and social protection, provide decent jobs for young people, so young people like you. We also have a lot of migrants, all right, who have migrated, and other vulnerable communities. So this is what you can do to reduce inequalities, all right, within and among countries, right? So you can see here, number 1, people living in poverty get support and access to economic growth, right? You must make sure that they get that. You have good school system, good work, right, to provide decent job for them. You have laws and practices that do not discriminate against anybody. So everyone gets equal opportunities and rights. And number 3, you have disadvantaged and vulnerable people must be protected. Right? So you have those who are not well, on wheelchair. So do they have access to everything? Right? So everyone's right must be protected. And people who leave one country to live in another benefit from laws to protect them. Right? So this is especially for the migrants. Right? So that is for goal number 10. Right? So these are the efforts. Right? So we've discussed this. Right? So in essence, what you need is you promote safe, regular, and responsible migration, including thorough, plain, and well-managed policies for the millions of people who have left their homes due to war, discrimination, poverty, lack of opportunity, and other drivers of migration. Now, very quick example of this is the Syrian refugees in Turkey. So if you see how Turkey is actually helping them, they've built good housing villages for them. They are also providing education for them. People are learning Turkish in these housing villages that the Turkish government has provided for the Syrian migrant. And they are giving them the protection. They are giving them the opportunity to actually strive in a different country. Right? So these are some of the things that you can actually look at. Next is goal number 11. Right? So goal number 11, we have sustainable cities and communities. Now, sustainable cities, if you look at Shah Alam is actually moving towards sustainable city, right? So sustainable city means, again, you go back to the 3 pillars. The social aspect is taken care of, the economic aspect is taken care of, and the environment aspect is taken care of, right? So everyone must have access to quality, safe housing. Waste management is monitored, right? Promote appreciation and protection to the environment, right? Engage everyone in improving the cities and provide safe, organized transportation that is not harmful. So that is why you see in Shah Alam, a lot of electric buses are making their rounds, right? So that is so that you don't harm the environment. And you must make sure that the city is resilient to disaster. So in Shah Alam, we have cases of flooding. So what can you do to make it more resilient so that the floods are not occurring? Or you can what you can do to adapt so that you can prevent those flood issues affecting the city in a big way, right? So those are the things that you can look at. So sustainable cities, another video is there. Please have a look, right? Example of efforts are also there. So you improve your employment, safety, logistics, air quality, shared public spaces, right? So this is why your Taman comes in, right? Condition in the cities that had greater effect on quality of life. Now next is goal number 12, right? Goal number 12 is also very important. This is for responsible consumption and production. Again, more on recycling, less on wastage, right? So you must remember your industry, you don't pollute the environment, because this is the same water that we use for drinking, right? You don't pollute the land, right? And then when you are a consumer, you don't buy things that you don't need. You can recycle, or you can always go for second-hand goods. It's not necessary that you must buy something that is new. You can also go for second-hand goods so that you are sustainable, right? So this is for responsible consumption and also for responsible production, so that you don't pollute the environment, right? So this is how you can help the business, right? And as a consumer, you don't become wasteful. You don't buy things that you don't need. You reduce your waste, right? Being thoughtful of what you buy, right? You carry a reusable bag. Start refusing to use plastic straws. Recycle your plastic bottles, right? And then make informed purchases on what you are buying, right? So textile industry is largest polluter of clean water, and many fashion companies exploit textile workers in the developing world. So if you can buy from sustainable and local sources, that will be good, right? So these are some of the things that you should be looking into. So another video is there, right? You can have a look. So the main idea for this goal is to reduce waste, reduce usage of plastic, and promote sustainable practices. Next is climate action. Now, whether you like it or not, climate affects everyone on this planet, not just the Arctic, right? It's also affecting us in Malaysia as well, right? So we had this issue of thinning of ozone layer because of using of CFC. We also have a lot of CO2 in the atmosphere now, which leads to global warming. And this global warming is basically reducing the ice in the northern polar regions. All right, so ice is melting, and when the ice melts, the seawater rises, and when the seawater rises, it will affect a lot of low-lying nations. All right, imagine what will happen to Singapore if the ice melts in the in the North Pole due to global warming. All right, and also because of global warming, we have a lot of issues with drought and water management. So that is causing a lot of food scarcity. So you are not able to grow food, and then if you don't have enough food, then that will lead to food scarcity. So another problem there, right? So what can you do, right? We can definitely address this climate change. So we need to increase our efforts. The whole world must transform its energy industry, and we also need to anticipate, adopt, and become resilient, right? So another video there, please have a look at this video. So these are the example or efforts that you can actually use to basically combat climate change, right? You become much more energy efficient, reduce your carbon footprint, emission reduction targets, scaling up investment, and prepare to adapt climate change, right? Next is life below water. In the beginning, I have mentioned that 70% of our planet is covered by ocean, and there's a lot of life below water here. So as one of the sustainable development goals, we need to protect this life below water, right? And how to do it is we need to reduce and prevent pollution. We can't send all our pollution into the ocean through our rivers, right? The ecosystem need to be protected, right? When you throw a lot of waste into the ocean becomes acidic. And once the ocean becomes acidic, your reef, right, is affected, and that will affect the whole ecosystem, right? And you must also end overfishing. So people fish and they tend to overfish, and there's a lot of illegal fishing. So again, you can do fishing. It's not to say that no fishing is allowed or not allowed, but you have to do it responsibly, sustainably, right? And number 4, you have fishing communities to develop sustainable fishing practices. So you can have that. Many countries like America and Canada are actually going into this sustainable fishing practices, where they fish just enough so that the stock, right, the fish stock can replenish themselves in time, right? So you don't overfish. So you can also have scientific cooperation. So this is to increase knowledge, improve technologies, and minimize ocean acidification. And finally, what you can do is you can make and maintain international laws so that everyone agrees, so that we need to protect the life below water. Again, another video is there, you can have a look, right? So these are the efforts you can take, right? So some of the CSR activities that people are doing, my previous students have done, is they've gone for beach cleanups. So this is also helping in maintaining the life below water. So you can also create awareness of importance of marine life for further protection, and all the other efforts as shown here, right? Because a lot of marine debris impact the biodiversity, right? So people get the life below water gets entangled, right? They ingest debris, right, which can kill them or make it impossible for them to reproduce. A lot of plastic, microplastic is there in the ocean, and that is causing reproductive issues to all the life below water, right? And then you can see that 20% of world's coral reef have been effectively destroyed, and they can't be recovered. No prospects of recovery, right? So life on land. So once we finish with life below water, we must make sure that we protect life on land as well, right? So reduce deforestation, plant more trees, right? Protect and preserve ecosystem, and threats to endangered species, and protect biodiversity. So you must also reverse land degradation, combat desertification, right? So you have more trees, right? So if you have deforesting, make sure you plant more trees there, and that can actually help to support life on land, right? Because biodiversity is very important. So this is another video here, right? So some efforts that you can use: recycling, eat locally based diet, sustainably sourced, limit your energy usage, be respectful to wildlife, and well manage protected areas like what we have in Malaysia is Taman Negara. Right, so next is peace and justice. So second last one, peace and justice. If you have everything but you don't have peace and justice, is also no point, right? So what we need is too many people experience war and violence. So what you can do is you can end all forms of violence. No war. Say no to war. Say no to war or violence against children. Make sure everyone has got a birth registration and legal identities for all. So that's why we have My Card in Malaysia. Equal access to justice and legal information for all. Everyone should be protected under the law equally, right? And then make sure you have a good way of combating crime and corruption, right? Because this will not lead you to achieve this goal if we have high crime and high corruption in the society. And then strengthen institutions so that people can trust them. Our judiciary, our police system should be strengthened so that people feel safe and people trust them, right? In some countries, they don't trust their police. In some countries, they don't trust their judicial system, right? So we got to make sure that these two, justice system is basically strengthened so that everyone can have faith and trust them, right? So this is more on the peace, justice, and strong institution. So you got to have that. Another video is there for you to look at, right, so that you can understand it better. So one of the things that you can do to maintain this is to deliver quality education and healthcare, fair economic policies, create awareness about the realities of violence and the importance of peaceful, promote inclusion and respect towards people of different background, ethnic origins, religions, gender, or different opinions, right? So that is again for equality for all. And then this is the last one. The last goal, we must make sure that we meet these goals by 2030. Bear in mind, it's roughly about 9 years from now, right? And how to do that is you must include this in your national plan. In every country's national plan, you must have this. All countries must work together to implement the goals, and government must work together with concerned people of all ages in order to make progress of the goals. So getting involved in community work with aid organization is a great way to start. All right, so if you want to know or if you want to get involved, make sure you can actually relate your CSR activities to some of your sustainable development goals, or you can work with some community or some NGOs to realize these sustainable development goals, right? So these are some of the things. We are all in this together, right? Like it or not, you can't say no. We are all in this together, and these goals are actually for everybody's good, right? So if we achieve this, everyone prospers. No one is left behind, right? So that is the reason why we need to work hard and then try to achieve these 17 goals by 2030 at least, right? So these are some of the efforts that you can take, right? So these are the to-do lists, right? So what you can do as a student is you have the 6 things there. So you start to think about it, what you have learned today about the SDG goals, and then start talking about it with everyone. And then when you sleep, you dream about it. And then when you write, then relate everything that you have written. And then you start writing about it, make art about it, and act on it. All right. So if you don't act on it, also it's no point. So the simplest thing that you can do is you can plant a tree. And that also helps towards the sustainable development goal. Right. So these are the 17 goals you should know. right? All the higher learning institutions are actually encouraging all their students and exposing their students to this 17 sustainable goals. Make sure you apply them in the work life that you are going to be employed in the near future, and this is lifelong. We are not just going to stop at 2030. Of course, you can apply this in your lifelong, right? So these are the 17 goals which we have gone through, right? So shall we take 5 minutes break? Are we okay? Anyone?
Yes.
Okay, so now it's 12:15. We take 5 minutes break, then we'll continue with this. 12:20, I'll start again. So 5 minutes break, everyone? Okay, all right, everyone. So we'll continue back. Can somebody respond? Can you hear me or cannot hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I can see the slides.
Can.
Okay, very good. So we have another 45 to 50 minutes more. I'll try to finish as much as we can because we have another, I believe I think 80 more slides to go. So, but these are all information. So it's illustrations. So we can actually go through it very quickly. Now, sustainability. Of course, there are problems related to sustainability. Nothing is without the problem. So we need to, in order to solve a problem, you need to know what are the problems, right? So you can't solve a problem if you don't know what is the problem. So let's see what are the problems related to sustainability. Now we have depletion of finite resources. One of the example of finite resources is your petroleum. Petroleum is not going to last. Even in Malaysia, you will see that many of our petroleum resources are depleting, and Petronas is finding it hard to find new resources or new places to dig the petroleum out. So this is finite resources. Now, if you rely on this too much, what's going to happen in another 100 and 200 years? So then you will have no petroleum. So what are you going to do? How are you going to drive your car, right? So fuels, soils, mineral, species, right? So they are all depleting. We are also what we call that overuse of renewable resources. So we'll discuss this in our next slides. So what do you mean by overuse of renewable resources, right? So forests, fish, wildlife, fertility, public funds, right? So forests are renewable. As you can, why they say forests are renewable? Because if you cut a tree, if you plant another one, that's renewable. Fish is also same thing, right? Renewable, but we are overusing them. So the moment you overuse them, right, these are not the renewable energy and so on. So this is what we call as renewable resources related to forest, fish, wildlife, right? So public funds also. So if you use too much of public funds, that is also not sustainable, right? So public funds here means you give money to everyone, right? Free money to everyone, and that is not going to be sustainable in the long run, right? So what if you run out of money, then what are you going to do? We also have pollution, right? All three, air, water and soil are polluted at the moment, right? And inequality, right, in terms of economic, political, social and gender. So these are some of the problems related to sustainability that you can actually identify. And then now, once you've identified them, then you can look for solutions to basically overcome these problems, right? Species loss. So we've lost a lot of species, right, in the name of development, right? Or many species is heading towards this extinction. So what can you do to make sure that things are sustainable? Now, if you go to zoo today, you can see elephant, you can see tiger, you can see lion. 200 years from now, can you still see them, right? So if you can still see them, then it's sustainable. But if you can't see them, then that's because of species loss, right? So endangered species and species. So first thing that you need to discuss here is your pollution, right? So a lot of pollution is going on, right? One is because we transform the energy, right, from one form to another. So if you have petroleum, you need to convert it into heat energy. So to do that, you need to burn the petroleum product. And once you burn the petroleum product, you release a lot of harmful toxic gases into the environment. And that causes a lot of pollution. And not forgetting the radioactive material as well, because we humans have started using nuclear energy. And that is also quite dangerous to the environment. And if you can look at the accident that happened in Soviet Union, right? And until today, no one is able to go back to that place. Okay, so there are major pollutions classified by the environment. We have air pollution, as you can see here. So pollutants released into the air. We have water pollution. So water pollution, you can see that this is in Malaysia, of course. So all the things, they just throw it into the water. And this is not just, this is what you see, even if the sanitation, the toilets and all those things are also, discharge is released into the water. So this stresses out the life below the water, right? And we also have land pollution. Okay. Now, besides this, we are in modern society, you also have noise pollution, right? A lot of factories, trains, and airplanes, they contribute to noise pollution. We also have light pollution. This is at night. If you are staying beside a highway or staying beside some places, a big city, all the lights are switched on, so that causes light pollution. And not forgetting the modern society problem with plastic pollution, right? So these are the environmental pollution that we need to look at, right? A video is there, so this is for you to see. Hopefully you will see, right? And this is another issue related to our pollution, which contributes to global warming, right? So there's a video here. The reason why I asked you to see besides the class hour is because you remember this is a 6 hours class. 3 hours will be covered here. Another 3 hours you got to watch all the videos that are provided here, right? So again, you have numerous videos here, right, related to air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, light pollution. So this is for you to go through, right, to cover that 3 hours that you need to cover. Air pollution, if you don't take care, this is what you'll be wearing for the rest of your life. In India, 2 million people dies because of air pollution. 2 million, right? Water pollution, we can see what is the effect of water pollution to us. So Ais Lango, that is the best case. You don't have water, so you can't process the water because of water pollution, right? Noise pollution, transportation, light pollution, and also your plastic pollution. So right, so what are they, how to overcome, and then these are the videos that you can actually look. So sustainability solutions, again, now let's look at the solutions. So what is sustainable solution? So this is the definition, right? So you have long-lasting, environmentally responsible solution for the provider, society, and also the users. And innovation is a new solution that has been sold and it's used by more. So this is just a strict definition, right? Cyclical material use, right? So you recycle again and again, right? So I don't know whether you have heard about circular economy or not. So in circular economy, you reuse the material again and again. Imagine your iPhone, the casing can be used for new phone production. The screen, if it's okay, can be still used. The battery casing can be reused by filling up with a new chemical ingredient that you need for the batteries. So these are some of the things that you can actually do to recycle your material. Sustainable energy, of course, you emphasize more on renewable energy, right? So you talk about energy conservation, look for energy efficient materials, rely more on renewable energy, substitute all your fossil fuels with renewable energy, and some interim measures where you change your, your bulbs into LED bulbs and so on. So neighborhood sustainability, you look for life-based interest, right? So you take care of your health, you become creative on how to become more sustainable. You have good communication, coordination with people, everyone. You learn, you have intellectual and spiritual development, all right, where you bring in your sustainability values. All right, so greenhouse effect, a video is there for you to look at. All right, how to reduce, reuse, and recycle. These are called 3 R's. Reduce means you reduce the consumption. Reuse back everything, all right, that you have bought, and then recycle. Recycle means for an example, if you have a plastic product, send it to a recycling plant so that you can recycle it into another product. This is so that you don't have to go back to the petroleum product to produce the product in the first place again. These are the 3 R concepts: reduce, reuse, recycle, right? You also have 5 R principle here: reduce, reuse, recycle, recovery, and disposal, right? In 3 R concept, what we do is we reduce, That means cutting back the amount of trash we make, right? That is under reducing. And then reusing, finding new ways to use your trash and recycling your trash, right? In the 5R, so reduce, reuse and recycle is the same thing. And what you do here extra is recovery. So when you cannot be recycled, then find a way to produce energy and then processing the non-recyclable waste into a residue. And then disposable, make sure your waste products are disposed properly, right? So that is the inverted pyramid that you see, right? Most of your products you can reduce so that you can generate less waste in everyday life. And then you can also reuse the products that you are actually going to think about throwing it out. So you can repair them. If your TV is broken, try to repair them first, or you can recondition them so that you can reuse them. And then if can, you also need to turn some materials by recycling them into new substance or new product, or you can recover some energy out of something that you can't recycle. And once you have achieved all these, still there's nothing that you can do, then only you dispose it off. So instead of disposing off at this level, if you dispose it off at this level, then the amount that you dispose off into the landfill is minimized instead of throwing it in this region here. So first what you do is you try to reduce it. Second, you try to reuse it, then you recycle it, then you recover it. If you can't recover it, then only you are left with no choice but to dispose it into the landfill. So this is quite responsible way of waste management hierarchy. So our country is actually heading towards here. That is why you will see in Shah Alam, you are given actually 2 disposable bins. One is for your landfill, one is for your recyclable bin. So the recyclable bin will be where it will be sent so that you can turn the material into new substance or product. So these are some of the things that you can do. Some of the things that you can recycle, right? Plastic, 450 years for it to disappear. Glass bottle, 1 million years before it disintegrates. Waxed milk carton, 3 months before it disintegrates. Tin, 50 years before it disappears. So if you can recycle them, why not? Instead of throwing it into the landfill, right? So there's so much waste. So this is in America. So America, they produce this much of waste in just 1 year. That is average family, okay? So what you can do is you can make the difference. Try to recycle things that you can recycle so that you can have that sustainability development. So things that you can recycle in your home, right? So these are the things: your mail, your papers, office papers, shampoo bottles, food cans, right? So in your bathroom, you have all these soap boxes. All these are recyclable. Food boxes, cans, milk jug are recyclable, right? So put it in the bin that can so that the waste management company can take it to recyclable plant. Or if you don't have the bin, you can store it, sort it out on your own, and send it to recyclable plants on your own effort. So that is also possible, right? So activities that are sustainable, so you got to change, and that change starts with you, right? So these are some of the things that you can actually do, right? So number 1, you save electricity. All of you know how to do it, right? So the second thing, a lot of bank statements now don't come in paper. They will send it via online or via mobile. So when you don't have paper, you don't need to cut your forest to make papers. So share. Don't just like. If you see interesting social media post on SDG related matters, share it so that people are also aware. Speak up. So if you have anything that you are not happy with the sustainability, you got to speak up. All right, don't print. Nowadays you don't need to print. You can actually have everything digitized, right? Turn off the lights if you are not using, right? Do a bit of online research and buy only from companies that you know have sustainable practices and they don't harm the environment. Report online bullies, right? So some of the things that you can do. Stay informed, right? And all the other things that are listed here, right? So this is what you can do from your couch. I mean, just sitting there, right? And these are the things that you can do at home, right? So you air dry your clothes or your hair. So air dry means you let the natural convection to dry everything that you have. So meaning to say that if you want to dry your hair, don't use hair dryer. Let the natural convection around you to dry your hair naturally. If you want to dry your clothes, use the natural convection. Don't use a clothes dryer. Right? Take short showers. Right? So don't take very long showers. Eat less meat, poultry, and fish. Go vegetarian. So right. So sometimes they say Monday is a meat-free day. Freeze fresh produce and leftovers so that you can eat it some other time. So don't go into food waste. Compost is something that you can do. It's more on the recycling. All right. If you have any air leaks, right, in windows, so this is for air conditioning. Look for appliances with good energy efficient models. If you have money, go for solar panels. Invest in this for your house. Get a rug. Carpets and rugs keep your house warm and your thermostat low. So this is mainly for what you call that cool climate countries, right? But you can also use it for Malaysia because sometimes it gets cold. So don't rinse. If you use a dishwasher, stop rinsing your plates before you run the machine. Choose better diaper options. So these are for diapers for kids, right? And all the other things that you can do at home, right? So outside your home, shop local, right? Support your local farmers. Shop smart, right? Buy funny fruit, right? So because majority of the supermarkets, they throw away the funny fruit because of their shape. Because the shape is not nice, they tend to, you know, throw it away. So you can buy them. It's equally good. It's just that the shape is not right. So when you go to the restaurant, see whether they serve sustainable seafood. And then if you can, try to use your bike, walk, or take public transport. Take fewer napkins, right? So when you eat out or take out, right? So you don't need all the paper napkins. Shop vintage, right? Go for second-hand products. Maintain your car well so that you release fewer toxic fumes. Donate what you don't use. So local charities, they will gladly use your clothes and all the items, books, and so on that you don't use, and then they will provide it to others. So these are some of the changes, right? At work, what you can do, right? So don't throw away things like fruit and snack. Give it away to someone. Make sure you have good, proper access healthcare. This is at work, right? Just now was at home. 4 billion people lack access to basic sanitation services, right? So lend your voice about lack of toilets in many communities. Stay informed. Read about workers in other countries, right? You got to read and then find out what are the issues. Is your company giving you clean and resilient infrastructure? Raise your voice again any type of discrimination in your office. Again, bike, walk, or take public transport to work, right? Organize a no impact week at work, right? Learn to live sustainably for at least a week. Speak up if you have anything that you want to say. Make sure the waste is responsibly discarded so that you don't end up in the ocean, right? And recycle. So these are some of the activities that you can say are sustainable and not sustainable. So you use reliable sources of energy, right? So you encourage desirable human traits. So these are all sustainable. If it's not sustainable, these are the ones. If you use non-renewable resources, right? Cumulative degradation of the environment, require resources in quantities that could never be available for people anywhere. And then if you do things that lead to extinction of other life forms, that is not sustainable. About neighborhood sustainability, you can look at that, right? How, if you have a house, how you can maintain your house to be sustainable. You can have few things. So of course, this is a model in what you call that in overseas, but some of the things you can actually use it. So one thing you can do is you can have a green roof. Green roof here means you have vegetation on your roof. So this will prevent the sun from penetrating and heat up your indoor environment. So this will help to cool down your house. You can have lawn alternative, have diverse lawn alternative. You have permeable pavers. Permeable pavers means when it rains, the rainwater actually is absorbed into the ground, right? Not discarded into the road and the drainage system, so that you can actually fill up the water table underground, right? You can also do rainwater harvesting. So use this harvested rainwater for, plant irrigation and other uses. You can also use it for toilets as well, right? So you can have some dams and so on if you want, right? So some other things that they have categorized as neighborhood sustainability here, right? So this is what you can see. Singapore is actually going very big into neighborhood sustainability. So you can see a video here on how Singapore is building a smart, sustainable, and resilient country. All right. So a very good video for your information. So another videos here. So renewable energy is important. So these are some of the renewable energy here. Now the sole idea of using renewable energy is to replace the use of fossil fuel. You can actually fulfill all the need that the energy need of this world just by using renewable energy. But again, as we have mentioned earlier, they are clean, but they need to be affordable as well. So a lot of research, a lot of funding, a lot of support needs to be given so that everyone starts using renewable energy, so that we can have sustainable energy for all, right? So this is another video by National Geographic. Please go through this. Another video here on renewable energy. So this is just to enhance your understanding on what are the renewable and non-renewable sources of energy, right? So another infographic. So if you look at it, what renewable energy sources is the world using? So if you look at geothermal, Indonesia, as part of the Southeast Asian country, is using a lot of geothermal energy for energy production, together with Philippines, right? So it's gigawatt hours. So you can see that. For biomass, the champion is USA, but Japan is also pioneering the use of biomass. Solar, you can see Germany, China. China is now #1, right? USA is also there. Malaysia, we got ample of solar energy, definitely higher than Germany, but again, we are not capitalizing in the use of solar energy yet, right? And then here you can see hydroelectric, China is #1, followed by all the other countries. And then in terms of wind energy from Asia, you can see that India is also harvesting a lot of wind energy. So these are the examples of countries that are harvesting a lot of these renewable energy sources. The only aim is to reduce the release of CO2 into the environment. And when you have less CO2 release into the environment, global warming issue can be tackled easily. So these are the sustainable forms of energy. All the videos are there for you to go through, right? And family planning. So now this is what we call family planning. All of you are going to get married one day, and then you are going to start a family. Now this is also important because your family planning impacts these sustainable development goals, right? So your partnership for the goal, for an example, if you have good family planning, there will be no poverty, no hunger, everyone is good health, you can provide good quality education, you can have good gender equality. With proper family planning, again, you can achieve all of these goals again, right? Because we need to take care of our planet. Prosperity, again, decent work. And then for peace, reduce inequalities, peace and justice. So that is all done through family planning. So a video, a very informative video, right? It's there. Now the general idea here is, if you look at the scenario in many poor countries, one of the reasons the family remains poor is because of poor family planning. So the family is poor, but at the same time they will have about 12, 14, 15 children. And then in order to sustain this big family, you need to have a lot of resources which you can't get because of the poverty that you have. So then this will lead to zero hunger, this will lead to gender inequality, and so on and so on, right? So this is a good video, if you want to look family planning, a key to unlocking the sustainable development goals, very important, right? So again, the same thing, how they relate your family planning to all the goals. So if you look at this gender equality, they go hand in hand, because family planning empowers women to make decisions about when and how many children to have. So this is things related. So you can see here, all of them are from poor background. And one thing that you can see here is that they have very poor family planning. So you can see the number of children for each family here, right? It can be more than 10 sometimes. So this is again a rural farmer in India. So if you are a rural farmer, most of the time you are poor, and when you are poor, your resources are limited again. It's very hard for you to provide equal opportunities for everyone here, right? So as a result of that, there will be discrimination against the girls, because to them, the girls are going to be married off, so why should I educate them? So they will just teach them and then marry them off at an early age, and that will cause some sort of gender inequality issues, right? So we don't want that. And then again, it's not easy to provide food for so many people, right, with the increased cost and so on. So that is why this is one of the issues that need to be tackled, right? So this is in Philippines, if I'm not mistaken, right? Again, problem associated with family planning. So these are the SDGs, right? So you can have a look, right? Family planning affects people in myriad ways, right? So it's one of the human rights. So if you look at this statement, estimates indicate that 225 million women in low and middle income countries had unmet needs of modern contraceptive methods. So these are some of the things that you can actually provide them, right? So that you can actually help to advance gender equality for everyone, right? So second, family planning affects the planet. So population, we are already at 7 billion. We are going to go to 9 billion by 2050. So once you reach 9 billion, we will have issues with water scarcity, right? And a lot of issues related to economic, and also your education, health services, housing, drinking water, electricity, right? So you got to have good control into this. So you can read that. And then thirdly, family planning can facilitate economic prosperity, right? So if you have, let's say, wage earners, if the family is big, then the economic prosperity is low. But if the family is reasonable, then of course the economic prosperity will help to propel all the family members, so that they get good healthcare system, good education, and they can, if they are from the poverty, they can help to break that poverty chain, right? So this is something that you can think of about family planning. Number 4, can contribute to peace, right? So you can help to develop a stable democratic societies. And number 5, family planning progress requires new and continued partnership. So that is why the SDG is coming in, and then help to empower the women, and also to educate everyone the importance of family planning, right? So some videos are here, you can actually have a look, right? So by now you should basically be able to answer all these 5 questions. So you should know what is sustainable development, why sustainable development is important, 3 categories of sustainability development, what is the relationship between sustainable development and public health, how to improve sustainable development. So these are the type of questions that you will see in the exam as well, right? So all the answers are there in the slides. Hopefully once you do your revision, you can actually use these questions to recap back that what we have learned today, right? So just a little bit more. So you have additional reading materials, right? You can I'll give it to you in the last slide, right? So it's not in the next slide. So this is why it's important, right? So this is important points for you to know because if we want to ask you question in the exam, it will be all based on this. So why you have sustainable development, and why is it important? Because it helps you to protect technological resources, right? So we are becoming increasingly relying on technology, and more people than ever are relying on technology for nearly every aspect of their life. Imagine living without your smartphone today, right? So sustainable development helps you to protect this technological resources, and it also helps you to provide basic human need. So right, your food, water, shelter, so those are your basic human needs. So all the population, everyone on this planet needs to have this basic human need. And also agricultural necessity. If you have no food, no agriculture, how are you going to survive? You need to eat. So sustainable development actually helps you to have a sustainable agriculture, so that you can actually feed the whole population on this planet, right? So remember, by 2050 we will have another extra 3 billion people. So what are you going to do sustainably in terms of agricultural practices, so that you can feed these extra 3 billion people more in the near future? So that is why you need sustainable agriculture. And then you need to accommodate city development, because out of the 7 billion people that we have today, more than 50% are going to be staying in cities in the next 10 years, more than 50%. So how are you going to develop cities that are sustainable? So for an example, big cities like Shanghai, you have 30 million people. The whole of Malaysia is staying in Shanghai. Delhi, New Delhi, 32 million people. The whole of Malaysia is in that one city. So imagine the strain on the water resources, imagine the strain on sanitation, imagine the strain on the air pollution. So how are you going to accommodate this city development in terms of sustainable development? So those are the things that you need to consider. You need to control climate change as well, right? So one of the issues that we try to tackle through sustainable development is we try to limit, right, climate change. So we don't want the climate to change drastically, right? So we need to control the pollution, control the air pollution, so that we limit the amount of CO2 is released, so that we can control climate change. We must also provide financial stability, and you can only do that by having sustainable economies. So without sustainable economies, you cannot have financial stability. So we can't rely on the old model. We got to come up with a new economic model. As I've mentioned, we are now at Industrial Revolution 4.0. Soon we'll be going to Industrial Revolution 5.0. So what economic activities that you can venture into, so that you can sustain and develop the jobs that are going to be important in the future? Because if you don't change your economic models now, then you will have stunted economic growth, and you will be left behind as compared to other countries, right? So that is on the politic and economic will. And most important is also to sustain biodiversity, right? So you must make sure the bees are around. So as you can, if you read, the bees are being affected by pollution, and once the bees are gone, human beings are gone. That is according to Albert Einstein, because you can't do pollination. Agriculture, you need pollination in order to produce the food. So this is public health again. So if you are not sustainable, you will pollute the environment. When you pollute the environment, everybody gets sick. When everybody is sick, your public health cannot support. So in order to have good public health, you must have good sustainable development, right? So just towards the end, example of sustainable development practices. So this is what they do. Stormwater pond. So in Shah Alam, we have a lot of stormwater pond, right? So that is to absorb the extra water that you have during the high rainfall rate, so that you can eliminate flooding. You can also have rain garden, as shown here, right? Sustainable development practices. So reuse everything from an oil palm tree. So you don't let anything go to waste. So the whole of oil palm, only 10% is oil. The balance 90% you can use it as biomass, right? Rice husk used as fuel, right? So these are some of the sustainable development. Electric railway transportation right? Motor control. And look for eco village, right? So you live together with a good ecosystem where everything is green, as you can see. You use bicycles, you have a lot of vegetation, you have a lot of renewable energy, and you don't release any CO2 into the environment. So that is what they are looking for. Zero kitchen waste, right? Minimize wastage. Go for sustainable city. So you can look here. You have renewable energy, waste reduction, water conservation, reuse the water, green building design, electric vehicle charging system, a lot of bicycles, a lot of recycling going on, a lot of electric vehicle going on, right? So that is what save electricity at home, right? What you can do. And then designing your green cities. So Shah Alam is actually going towards that, right? So you can see all the elements, number 1 right to number 12 there, right? Transit oriented development, mixed use, small blocks, public green space, non-motorized transit, your bicycles, public transit, car control, a lot of green buildings, renewable energy, waste is managed well, and water is managed well as well, right? Smart cities, right? This is basically everywhere in the world today. And then a lot of ways to make your house smarter, right? So you can look at this illustration as well, right? So how wash your clothes in cold water, turn down your water heater, use better light bulbs, change your shower head so that it becomes much more efficient, right? So this is what we need, right? Invest in rural infrastructure. Farmers, you help them to increase their productivity. Agricultural food system is sustainable. Malnutrition, right? Zero hunger. So by 2030, hunger is ended and everyone is happy, right? So this is how you end hunger, right? So it's self-explanatory. You can actually have a look on your own. How to improve sustainable development, use more renewable energy, right? So that you can reduce the release of CO2 into the environment. Water and sanitation, right? Maintain your water. How to have safe drinking water, right? You can see here every 15 seconds, child dies from preventable waterborne disease. And then how to have a good health, mental and financial benefits by doing gardening, right? So these are some of the things that you can actually go through. Water for sustainable world, expanding economic opportunities through water and environment, right? So please go through that. So this is again some infographic. You can see 3 billion people lack access to drinking water. That is really safe. So 1/5 of population lives in area where water is physically scarce, no water, right? So we are actually blessed in Malaysia. And this is the overall demand for water until 2050, right? So developing countries, 40%, it will increase by 40%. So if you don't have a sustainable development in terms of water usage, then we will have a problem because the demand is definitely going up. So we got to change the way we use water so that we can actually maintain our economic growth in the future. So economy is important, right? So if you don't take care of your environment, it is going to cause economic loss. So you can see in Pakistan, 3 years flood, this many people life lost, how much of damages, right? And then it cuts the annual growth rate by half just because of flooding. Your growth rate is 2.9 but supposed to be 6.5, right? So that is how, if you don't manage your environment, it can also affect your growth. So again, environment, reduce, reuse, recycle, 3 R's again and again, right? Ecology, recycling, how to use better light bulbs, and go for sustainable design, right? So renewable energy, non-toxic, efficient, and so on. So almost towards the end, right? So all these infographics are for you. You can actually have a look, get some idea points from there. Right, so this is eco infographic, very informative. So you can see water pollution sources is given here. Ocean acidification is also important, because once your ocean becomes acid, your marine life is affected, right? So this is plastic ocean. A lot of plastic in the ocean now because of our irresponsible attitude. So that affects your marine life as well, right? So these are the plastics in ocean. And now when you buy fish from the market, you will see that there are a lot of microplastics in the fish. So when you throw it out, when you eat the fish, the plastic is coming back into you, right? So that is the sad thing. So noise pollution, the birds are affected because of the noise pollution, right? In the ocean is also affected because your dolphins, your whales relies on echo to travel. So all the ships, oil, gas, and exploration is affecting them, right? So I'll skip through this because all this you can actually go through it on your own. So neighborhood sustainability, we've gone through that, right? So make your neighborhood sustainable, right? So these are some of the things you can do. And you can go to farmers market, backyard garden. You can actually plant something at the backyard of your house, buy locally, buying produce in season, right? And then your home design, you can make it green, use green building materials, use green interior products, right? So these are some of the things. So you can see in other countries, right, especially in Europe, their roof is actually green roof. So you have vegetation. So this is actually helps to cool down the house so that your house remains cool inside, and this avoids the use of air conditioning, right? So this is one of the sustainable way of doing things. And then building materials, right? So you use something that is sustainable, right? Concrete is not sustainable. So if you want, look for things like bamboo, right? Recycle plastics, right? So if you want to have insulation, go for straw, right? Adobe, and also recycle cotton. Okay. So these are conventional, and these are all the green roof is the non-conventional sustainable material. So that is green building video. You can have a look, right? So this is one example of green building in Haiti. So where they have everything incorporated into the building so that the building looks sustainable, right? So these are interior products, right? Energy Star appliances. Go through these videos, right? So these are all the videos. So these are the references that they've took. So with that, we end our class today. I'll open for questions if there are any. Now, before you go, I would like to say that I've updated some of the things in the slides, and the slides are available in Microsoft Teams under Chapter 4. You may download that, right? Because some of the extra slides and extra information is actually provided in the what you call that. The upload that I've actually uploaded in the Microsoft Teams. All right, any question? If no question, is a good thing also. If we have question also, is a good thing. Anyone? Are you all still there?
Yes.
Yes, so tired? No question. That means I can assume two things. One is you know everything ready. Second is you've not understood anything. Right? Hopefully it's the first one. You've understood everything. Okay. So going once, any question? Going twice, any question? Going thrice, any question? Okay, kalau tak ada, dan itu sahajalah untuk hari ini.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.